And also, thank you to the partners, because your questions are... And last but not least, so we will welcome the third team.
So the third team, we will be focusing on entrepreneurship. So please welcome on stage Victor, Léa, and Alain. Since we have 3 people, we have a little bit more time to go through all the questions. Who would like to start? Okay.
Going first for Victor, each time I receive a contract to sign or to do things like this at the office, I just don't even bother to send it to the law team because they're like passion breakers, I would call. They will stop you to do everything. So for an entrepreneur, how do you make them shift this mindset maybe and make them understand that you bring value to the table without taking them 2 months to sign a contract and to make sure everything is fine?
Thank you. Well, so if I talk about the entrepreneurial world and the startup ecosystem in the legal work, I mean, I totally understand what you say, but to make the client understand that it's important, to give you a good example, I think that 70% of the startups failure are human failure. So what I mean by that is that when you start your business, for example, I will come to you and I say you should draft a shareholder agreement. And you say, oh no, it's going to cost me a lot of money. As you said, it's going to take time to negotiate. But I'm going to tell you that it's a bit like a prenup agreement. Because when you start a company, you hope for the best, obviously, but you should be prepared for the worst. And what I mean by human failure is that if you and your co-founder suddenly, I don't know, your co-founder finds a new girlfriend and decides to go in Australia and you haven't provided that beforehand in a shareholder agreement, then your company is going to go bankrupt just for a stupid reason like that. So that's why I'm going to tell you to take your time, come and see me, and I will help you draft. It's better to take 2 weeks to draft a shareholder agreement that then end up in this type of situation.
Thank you very much. Maybe the next question for Alain. Okay.
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
Yeah. So question for you, Alain. I wanted to know if at Vision, did you set up like a purpose or higher benefits that is guiding your way of doing your strategies, the way you deal with your employees, and so what's your purpose and how you deal with it?
Since the beginning of Visium, actually coming back to the question I was asked before, why I founded Visium, I realized that AI will be one of the most transformational axes in our society over the whole century. So we saw that early on. But AI is a double-edged sword. It can have a very negative impact and it can have a very positive impact. And so to be able to maximize the positive impact in the world, founding Visium. So we want to achieve a big scale where we are actually influencing our field, where we are having the power to actually positively influence the field. And on the good side, obviously make sure that all of our innovation are ethical and responsible. So we have an ethical committee and we are proactively focusing on actually trying to prioritize and implement innovations of AI that have a good impact in society.
Thank you very much. Maybe we will direct the next question to Léa. Yes, please, Matthias.
How do you see the car industry and the car subscription concept evolving in the near future?
So it's difficult. Well, certainly, starting with the bigger thing, mobility will always exist. So it's not an industry that will just go away because people move more and more. The other thing is that car subscriptions, I mean, there's different definitions of it, but usually it's the hassle-free access to a car. And it's what we see a bit with the big trends. People move more and people want more convenience in the services they access. So we see it everywhere. The first one was software as a service, and now we're at this mobility as a service point where we are just able to give them a mobility that gives them more choice than they used to have. To make an easy example, when you buy a car, you will use it because it's always standing there. With us, for example, you say, hey, I have a car, but I also have a bike. Maybe in winter it's a bit too cold for me to go with the bike. So I only have my car in summer. And increasing this possibility to individualize, we also enable people to have better choices. And I mean, yeah, of course, I'm saying it's going to be a massive market, but it's also experts like McKinsey or BCG, whatever, who say like this is the next big thing coming together with the electrified cars. So I hope that these progressions are correct and that it's going to go up to 40% of the newly enrolled cars.
Wow, thank you. Next question, I would say for Victor again. Maybe Olivier, you have...
Yes, that's a very general question. For you, what entrepreneurial spirit mean? In 2 words.
In 2 words. No, as I said, I think it's just trying to bring something new to what we've been doing in the past. I mean, I feel like a bit like a fraud between those two, because those are proper entrepreneurs, and me, I just try to bring some entrepreneurial aspect into my work. So yeah, it's just try to think a bit outside the box, try to bring value to the client, as I said, and if I can give an example, because maybe that was not very clear. But again, if I do the parallel with the startup world, how can I bring value to a startup when they do, for example, a fundraising? As I said, I want to give them a tailor-made advice. A startup doesn't have the money, at least at the beginning, to have some proper tailor-made advice. So in my legal work, we thought, like, how can we address this question? And we said, well, let's take the risk with the entrepreneur. So we do the work for free, basically. And when you raise the money, only at that time, you pay us. So you don't have to take the money out, like most lawyer would do, paying a retainer. But once you've raised your money, you just have to think about me. If you raise 1 million, you maybe raise 1,020,000 for the lawyers, and then once you receive the money, you pay me, and me, I take the risk of the entrepreneur with you while negotiating with the investors, and I think that's how we can maybe bring an added value in a sort of disruptive manner.
Risky business.
Yes. Well, we do a small due diligence before. We don't accept all of them.
I hope so.
I presume we should continue with the same structure, so questions for Alain?
I have one, maybe. For
Please,
Alain.
yeah, Antoine? Or, yeah?
Nicolas, you want to ask a question? Or you good? Yeah, okay, I'll do it. Alain, you said that you are very impatient in your speech. So how do you, again, gather people around you that maybe you have to spread your urge to do things, and maybe people who can control maybe more the energy? Or again, what's the factors for you to grow the team in the way to keep the flexibility and also the mission of the company?
If I understood well, the question is how can I work with people while being impatient and perhaps adapting to their pace? I try to do my best to be a good boss. I think it's hard to work with me sometimes, and luckily I am less. I try to stay away more on the managerial side and more. I try to take more of the leader role, as it was well explained before. So trying to set a good vision, be inspiring, protect and nurture the culture. Obviously contribute where I see are the toughest problems, where I can maybe help a bit to solve them. And then, yeah, I think people know how I am, and I just try to push things as fast as I can. But at the same time, I'm also very understanding when we fail. I see failure very positively, perhaps too positively. I think it's a step towards success, and sometimes even at Visium, I think perhaps we need to push a bit harder with the standards and trying to, get to the next level faster, as opposed to accept perhaps a bit too many failures along the way. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Questions for Leah?
Yes, Leah, I have a good question for you. You've been in this venture for you said 6 or 7 years already. So what's your mantra, or how you will communicate now your mantra as an entrepreneur within Carvolution?
So my mantra for being an entrepreneur, it's a difficult question because as an entrepreneur, what you sometimes forget, you have so many different hats. At one point, you're co-founder, you're a CMO, you're so many things. You're with your board, your investors. But what I think what really drives me is that I enjoy what I do. And this gives you so much energy to say, hey, I'm curious, I learn. I think I am so privileged to do what I do, so that I don't give this. Sometimes you listen to entrepreneurs and it feels heavy. It is long hours. We spend a lot of time working. It's hard. It's not always easy and everything works out, but I want to make it work so hard. And it gives me so much enjoyment, the steps we do with the team, that, yeah, this is what I try to share with the team, saying, look, this challenge is terrible now, what we're trying to solve, whatever, but it can still be fun. And I think with that kind of mantra, you can go very far.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Winning is more fun than losing, and you like to have fun.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for that. I guess we go back. Victor, questions for Victor? Is it Antoine?
Yes,
Matthias.
Victor, please, how do you see business law evolving in the digital age? And what role do soft skills play in this?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Soft skills is what I enjoy the most in my work, actually.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So I hope it's going to be okay for me. But the other day I went to a conference on sort of legal ChatGPT, and at the moment, basically, ChatGPT is a good trainee. In 6 months, it's going to be a good senior associate, and probably in a year and a half, it's going to be a senior partner. So how do we stand here? It's a question we ask ourselves every day, to be honest. And that's why I think the human aspect of the relationship is going to be more and more important. But to become a lawyer, you still have to go through those different steps of learning and just technical work. And this is going to be a big struggle, because once we arrive to the stage where AI is going to be so powerful and be much better than all of us, how are we going to teach the next generation to become a normal lawyer, have the good reflex? How are they going to be able to have the soft skills which they learn based on their basic skills? So to be honest, I don't have the answer for that. How do we tackle it? For now, internally, we're creating our own artificial intelligence based on our own database in order to give a better service to clients. But I think the real issue will be to form the young lawyers, because nobody, you as client, will want to pay a trainee if I send you a bill and I put like 3 hours for the research of the trainee, and then for an associate, etc., etc. And you know that in 2 minutes it can be done by AI. Nobody is going to actually pay the lawyers to do that, and then we won't have money to train people. So it's sort of a snowball effect. So we're taking it step by step.
Thank you very much. Alain, anyone for Alain? Or Leah? Yes,
I
please,
do have a
Antoine.
question for Leah. Following up on the question of Matthias, you said that mobility is going up and going to increase, people want to move. How do you cope and how do you observe the policies of different cities and maybe countries pushing away the cars from the city centers? And also, how do you make sure that innovation is kept alive in the company, maybe to find solutions on soft mobility, maybe? How do you keep the entrepreneurial spirit in the company?
Well, one thing about entrepreneurship is that you really have to focus. So we really focus on creating a car subscription. Of course, in a more personal side, I try really to understand how mobility was developed and how it works. But we're not working on solutions to create that micro-mobility or anything at Carvolution, because that's not what we're strong at. So you have to know what you can't do. Personally, I think we have a big dilemma with cities. Cities were built around streets. And now we really have to start rethinking that, how it works without it. And I mean, in Switzerland, what I still don't understand, why don't we have like something like a metro? Something that goes underground? I mean, there is space, the air below the floor. And there we really have to start saying, hey, okay, we like it how it is today, and that's the problem. Because whenever you want to change something, at least 20 people will complain about that construction. So I think us as a society, we need to want to make a change to how the cities look like and really push this forward. But yeah, with Carvolution, we're not changing that. But I'm sure there's like so many startups in mobility who work on this, and it's very fascinating to observe that and to see what's happening. Yeah.
Any follow-up questions? Aha. Olivier.
Yeah, for Alan. What is the biggest challenge you faced being an entrepreneur in Switzerland?
The single biggest challenge. I can only think of dozens and dozens of challenges that I could have not imagined at the moment how to overcome. And every time that you overcome a difficult challenge, then you increase your confidence level, and at the end, you sort of become comfortable in this uncertainty and this continuous, never-ending. So perhaps one is at the very beginning of Visium, my co-founder had to leave because he was sort of forced by EPFL to do a stage, and he couldn't do it in our company. And so at the very beginning, I was left with the whole company, and he was obviously trying to work remotely, but his support could be limited. And we had our expenses growing very, very fast. And so I remember distinctively those 6 months, because at the time it was around the first year of Visium, so I wasn't getting any salary. A friend from EHL, by the way, offered me to sleep in his apartment for free. And I remember every day was like 6 a.m. to 11, and it was just nonstop, 7 days a week for those 6 months. It sort of passed. Now it's not at all like so like crazy. But that was quite a difficult 6 months. So if I have to choose one, maybe I'll choose that one.
Thank you. Victor, any questions for Victor?
Yeah, maybe a question for
Nikolai.
Victor. You said you involve quite a bit in charity, and I want you to know what it brings you as a human being, but also maybe at work.
Yeah, it feels good also to work sometimes in fields that don't really involve money, or involve it in a different way, that it's not centered on me. That's the first thing. It gives you a bit of fresh air, and a bit like Satine said before. Sometimes it's better to prepare a gift for someone than to receive it. And I think that in terms of personal fulfillment, as this was one of the topics today, it really feels good in your week. I mean, in various board of foundation, and it takes me a few hours a week, and it's hours that I actually really enjoy, and then make me sort of relax a bit in my day-to-day life when I say I want to do this, I want to do that, I hope I'm going to be there in 1 year, 2 years, etc. And then I feel like, oh, but just remember that there is also like other things in life that just helped me to recenter myself on just more down-to-earth stuff than always fighting for others and being in sort of a tough environment.
Thank you very much. We have 2.5 more minutes. I will open the mic for anyone who have questions here.
Maybe
Yes.
for Leah. Do you think there is still sexism in entrepreneurship today in Switzerland? I mean,
Well, I don't know how it was years ago, but I think it's pretty sexy, yeah. No, sexism, yes, there is. Female founders don't get the same access to funds like male do. Whose fault is it? I don't know. This is why I try to focus on how to change it. I mean, some people argue VCs are biased because white middle-aged men prefer to give money to male middle-aged men, and women are too scared to go and ask for money. My experience showed if you go there with a strong case, with also some confidence, and then you build your record and you actually put this money into more value, that you have access to money. And in Switzerland, of course, we are in an environment where there is money, but yeah, I don't know why there is still such a gap, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I studied in St. Gallen and we were almost like 50-50 female men. So the talents are there, the ideas are there, but somehow there still seems to be something that makes it more difficult. So this is why also next to Carvolution I try to engage in that, saying, hey, female entrepreneurs are there, you should invest in them, you should at least listen to them. And this is also like a personal thing for me to try to engage there. I speak to a lot of female founders and they are scared. Like they read that stats, the statistics, and they're like, chances are close to zero that I will raise 10 million. And we somehow have to get that thinking out of it so that it starts when you tell a little girl, what, you want to become an engineer? No. So we have to be very careful how we talk to women, and all of us, we can actually contribute to that. So, yeah. But yeah, it's a problem. Personally, I haven't experienced it, so thanks to all our investors and everybody, but it's there and I can't like cover it up or anything.
Thank you very much for those very closing words and for a very interesting conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you, to Victor, Alain, and Leah. So now